Hello, my name is Christine, aka Crafty Potential, and I'm on the design team for Arden Creative Studios. And in today's video, I thought we could go back to some of the older collections and combine them all together. So let's play around with Hidden Creek, Vintage Makers and Page Starters collections and see what we come up with. So I've started by flicking through the Page Starters paper pad, and I found this one which I absolutely love, and I think we might have a go at making a square card. I don't make square cards very often, but I really love this doily design and I feel like it really needs to be made into the focal point for a square card, so I think that's what we're going to do. Plus I also like that this piece has this beautiful almost limey yellow kind of stripe on the back of it as well, which I thought we could utilise. If we're going to cut this more into a square, we could utilise the leftover pieces of the back and bring it in possibly as well. So I'm going to start with this paper. Then, because I want to play around with all of the collections, I have got out the rub-ons for both the Hidden Creek and the Page Starters, and I've also got the laser cuts for the Hidden Creek and the Page Starters as well. So I'm not 100% sure where this is going, but I thought some of these rub-ons are going to really add some extra elements onto this, whichever ones we decide. We might even use one of the sort of more sentimenty ones from the Page Starters collection as well. And then we've also got some stunning butterflies and foliage pieces in here, which I thought are in the same colour tones. Obviously the Page Starters goes with this because it's the Page Starters collection, but there's even some beautiful yellowy butterflies in the Hidden Creek laser cuts. If I haven't already used them, then they will go nicely with this as well. So, I might be bringing in some of the Vintage Makers dies. So these came out in the Vintage Makers collection. They're not specific really to that collection, but they came out in that collection. And I do still have some bits and pieces left when I have been die cutting for when I was making those samples. So we may be bringing some of those in as well, depending on what we decide to do. But first of all, I want to get my guillotine out and I want to trim this down to a square size. So I need to decide, maybe let's go this way first. Usually when I do a square card, I like to go up to this mark on my trimmer and make it square in that dimension. I'm not actually sure 100% what that dimension is because the dimensions stop there, but I can measure it afterwards for you. But I'm just sort of eyeballing where this line would come, and so we want to get the doily roughly in the middle really. So I'm going to chop that side off, flip it round and chop that side off, and then I want to kind of make the doily in the centre this way as well. There we go. I think that's quite nicely trimmed down, and it's about 5 1/4 inches, the size of this. And then we've got our leftovers on here as well. So, I mean, we could instantly layer up some of these leftover off-trimmed kind of pieces as well, and bring them in as part of the design. So we could just have those on there as part of the design element. We could actually at this point bring in the die cuts that I was talking about before. So this is from the, what's it called? The film strip from the Maker series. We've got that gorgeous die cut that I already have cut out, so that might work really nicely there. And I also have some of the squiggles cut out as well, and these are from some of the Vintage Makers papers as well. But we could have maybe some of these squiggles coming out of here too. So let's just bring a few of these out so we've got them ready in case we want to add them in. Is there any other ones in here? This one's really nice, really squiggly, this one. Okay, I'm going to keep those out. I think maybe if I'm going to use them, that's probably going to be the amount that I would use. You could even nestle these around this film strip actually and have the actual swirls as part of the film strip. That looks quite nice. Might leave that like that. Okay, so I'm not sure about these strips yet, and I'm not sure about any of these elements. We just want to kind of build a rough layout first. And we can bring in some of our rub-ons. Now I'm eyeing up this yellow one, but we might not want to go with yellow. We might want to bring in a different colour to kind of contrast with the yellow that's on here. But let's have a look at what I've got left on the sheets that I have started. Do I even have this yellow piece left? I think I do. Yeah, I do. So I've got that gorgeous yellow bit, which could look nice, or we could add in some blue splatter, or we could bring in some of this gorgeous floral. I do think the yellow actually. So I'm going to trim this off my sheet, being careful so that I can get all of the gorgeous splatter that is designed to go with this piece, because it looks absolutely phenomenal when you rub it on. So I think adding that somewhere around there would look lovely. So we've now combined page starters with a bit of Hidden Creek at the moment. So I can put that away. Then we have also got the rub-on transfers from the Page Starters collection. I haven't actually used too many of these. I used a few of the little words, and I used some of the corner elements on here. You would have seen that in a previous video. But I'm kind of thinking... I was either thinking Celebrate This Day, because it goes with the yellow colours, or if we want to bring in a die cut sentiment, we could team up maybe My Thankful Heart with the words thank you as well. I think that might look quite nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to snip that one out ready to use. So we've got My Thankful Heart. Even if we don't use the thank you die cut, I think that's still a nice sentiment to go on here. Now actually, oh, it doesn't quite fit, I don't think. I was wondering if the sentiment would fit inside our film strip. Not quite, a little tiny bit too big to go in there, but that would be a very cool way of adding it onto there. We do actually have, though, in this die set, we have the separate, I think that's the same size though. Yeah, it is the same size, otherwise that would have been a really cool idea for framing up the sentiment. But I think that will work really nicely. We might have to go hunting through our ephemera to see what we could rub that onto, unless we just do it onto a piece of white card or a leftover piece of this background paper. It would look fantastic on there actually. I might do that. Okay, so we've got that in place now. Now, is there anything else from these rub-ons that we think would go really nicely in the background? Not sure yet, and we'll put that die back off to one side because I'm not sure if we're going to use that yet. But I might leave these open because I might come back to putting the rub-ons on. I hope you like kind of seeing this process behind how to sort of build up a collage-y card, because I don't have any idea where this card is going, but I think it's quite nice to show the process of how you might put bits and pieces together, especially when you're mixing and matching across a couple of different collections. So let's go with the Hidden Creek ones first and see what bits and pieces jump out at us to go nicely with this, because we might want to actually put things in the film strip, maybe back it with a piece of paper and actually add die cuts kind of poking out of it. I don't know if we want to go along with a theme or if we just want to do floral or botanical or just butterfly, because I do think the green would obviously go really nicely with the yellow, but we could stick more to yellows and pinks because we've got the pink in the sentiment up there. What else have we got on this sheet? Lots more gorgeous foliage pieces on this one. So I don't think there's anything on that sheet that's going to work nicely. But these butterflies, we've got 3 of the same butterfly in different sizes. So be careful when you're taking your laser cuts out, but they are double-sided, so you can use them whichever way around. But I feel like maybe if we have, because I think, is there pink butterflies in the other one? Yes, there is. So maybe if we have a couple of the yellow butterflies from this ephemera set, that would look quite nice. Again, I'm going to leave this open in case I want to come back and pinch some more bits and pieces. And let's move on to the Page Starters ephemera. So we've got this lovely large piece here that could build up a kind of collage element on this card, because it's got those gorgeous mustard yellow kind of tones in there. That could maybe build up the design a little bit. Okay, we've got that piece. Then we want some kind of pinky elements from this collection to go along with the My Thankful Heart sentiment that we've chosen. This butterfly is stunning, this one. Absolutely gorgeous. It's almost got purpley tones in there as well. That's going to go really nicely with the sentiment, and it's going to pop out nicely as well. So I think that's going to look really nice. And then some of these watercoloured leaves, I didn't use any of these before. I was very tempted to, but I decided to do a couple of other projects instead. But these leaves are stunning. And if we just carefully prise these out of the laser cut sheet, they are so finely cut. And they're absolutely beautiful. And again, they're double-sided, so if you want it to go more in one direction than the other, you can easily just flip them over. Oh, that's so beautiful. Are there any more on this sheet? No. So if we want to bring in some more of the pinky tones, we could go with this one as well. Yes, I think that would work. Let's just pop this one out. Oh yeah, that looks really lovely. And which way do we want it to go? We can decide later. We might want it to come more in one direction than another. But that is looking beautiful at the moment. And I'm liking this dark of the film strip because it's kind of matching in with the dark of the rub-on and some of this sort of faux stamped detail in the background paper as well. Yeah, so I think maybe just 2 foliage pieces is going to look lovely. Then there's also like a ticket in here too. What's my sentiment? My thankful heart. We've got the word happiest that would go. This is everything, time and time again. My thankful heart, time and time again. That would work. We could do, instead of bringing in the die cut, we could do my thankful heart, time and time again. That would be nice. Okay, so we won't use the die cut. That is going to go really nicely. And then if we're doing my thankful heart, we kind of need to bring in a heart as well. So we've got these gorgeous little hearts in here with a sort of photorealistic piece of string tied around them as well. Really, really gorgeous. So we could add that wherever we feel like a pop of that colour needs to be as well. And then this is really gorgeous too. I'm kind of drawn to this little tag banner with the butterfly on. But I don't know if we need to bring in another butterfly really. I like that it's on the different side as well, so you can decide where you want it. Could we put that behind the aperture maybe? I'll leave that out for now. I'm not sure if we will use it, but I was drawn to that too. Okay, we've also got some tickets there as well, but I don't think we need those. Okay. So we've got all of these elements ready. Now I think it's time to start getting other bits and pieces ready. So rubbing our rub-on onto our background that we've decided on, rubbing the rub-on sentiment onto one of our leftover pieces of our background paper and then trimming it down. And yeah, just getting a rough layout kind of started really. So we're going to carefully peel the backing off of our rub-on, add it onto our paper, press it down. I like to use the tonic glide folder, but it does come with a lolly stick that you can use to rub on your rub-ons as well. Okay, and then we can peel this off. We've got our gorgeous sentiment on there now that says my thankful heart. And I think cutting it rather than tearing it is going to look good. Let's get my long bladed pair of scissors and let's go along here. Go, oh, it's not very straight. And then a bit more of this way. I like this wiggle we've got on the side that was actually on the side of the pattern paper. That almost looks like that was meant to be there on that paper. Okay, so we've got that so far, and then I think we will add this time and time again, just sort of layered up with it when we put the whole card together. It's got a couple of the little pips on here. Whenever you have anything that's still held into place, sometimes you have these little pips and it's easy just to trim them off with your scissors if you don't like them. Okay, so we've got our sentiment there. Then we can move everything else off of our background and get our gorgeous rub-on into place. Now I think we might be able to utilise a little bit of this elsewhere on the card maybe. If we take our scissors, cut it like that, butt that right up to the edge of the card, and then possibly just put an extra piece over there just to make it look like it's not just the one piece in one place on our project. So we can place that down there, place this one on here, and then again you can rub them on however you want to. Missed those little splatters up here. There we go. Just double check all these little splattery pieces. I can't tell if they're on the paper or if they're on the rub-on. Oh, that one's on the rub-on. There we go. So now we've got our customised paper because we've added a little bit of extra detail, and the Hidden Creek ones go so nicely with the colour scheme. Katie's so great at cross-matching everything so it all goes together really nicely. So now we've got that part, let's decide on the rest of our layout. Do we want these strips going across here? I do quite like it. It kind of grounds the area quite well. I don't want to cover up too much of our rub-on though. But we could add one or both of those on there. Then we've got our film strip, and I do like that tangled into it. I think that looks really nice actually, and maybe we could tangle another one into the bottom as well. I think this one's probably going to tangle in better. So yeah, maybe like this to tangle that one in as well. And then if we wanted to make that more solid, we still have this scrap here, not necessarily the yellow, although I think that's too much, but we could go with that behind it. Yeah, I like that actually, that works really nicely. Okay, so we need to make this a little bit narrower so that we can still see through the holes on the edges. We can trim this down a bit shorter, and then if I hold this into position, I should be able to trim down here. There we go. So we can't see the pattern paper behind any of the little holes in the film strip now. So we've got all of those sort of tangled onto it, so we can kind of leave those as they are and just add a bit of glue, and that should hold them into position. And we'll just add dabs of glue . Okay, and then we can add our strip of paper behind, so we're not wasting anything from this sheet of paper because we're now using the other piece of leftover as well. Okay, so we've got that there like that. I might bring that one back in because I think it just flew off. Okay. Yeah, I like that. That makes it stand out really nicely. And I think we can add a strip of foam tape behind this as well, just to help it pop off of the card a little bit more too. Okay, So we've got that like that with those two borders coming underneath at the moment. Then I think this is going to look really nice just layered on top of this as well, just to add another layered element. And then these beautiful bits of foliage as well, they're going to look stunning on top of there. Then I don't know if we need this. Is this going to add too much to the project? Not sure about this at the moment. I've got some little tabs on this that I just trim off. The little heart could maybe go up there. Then we've got our, we should have 3 butterflies. I think I've lost one. Oh, there it is, it's hiding. Okay, this one is absolutely beautiful. And then we've got this small little one. This tiny fine antennae. Maybe that one could be up on there. And then we've got the slightly larger yellow one from Hidden Creek as well. That could maybe be like that. Then we've got our gorgeous rub-on sentiment. Would it look better tucked right in like that? And then I quite like that actually. But then I don't think we need this piece. That can go back, ready for another project. And then we do still have another one of these curly pieces left, or the squiggles. We could maybe, yeah, add that into the cluster, I think. Just snip that off. And maybe add that into the cluster with the foliage on there. That looks really nice. Okay, so I think I'm happy with that layout. I'm going to take a photo and then we can start building this up and adding our dimension onto this as well. And we could even maybe bring in some of these yellow enamel dots too. Or maybe some of the ones from the Season of Joy collection might work nicely. Okay, so I'm going to carefully take all of these pieces off, trying to roughly place them in the kind of order that they are. This is going to be a separate sort of cluster piece. So the first pieces that we want to stick down then are going to be these 2 skinny patterned paper pieces. We may not be able to see that much of them going all of the way across the card in the final layout, but I think they just add another little extra element on here. There we go. Okay, we've got our first sort of layered on elements in place, and then we want to put in our gorgeous film strip with our squiggles going through it. Obviously you could add photographs inside this film strip as well. It doesn't have to just be a patterned paper behind it. You can easily add in your photographs, and you can even die cut your photographs with the single die in this set. You could actually use that, because I'm pretty certain these rounded rectangles are the same size, so if you didn't want to cut this much into your photograph, you could use this one and then actually recess your photographs back into the main die cut as well. So now we've got to this point, I think the next part is this gorgeous, yeah, this was one of our laser cuts as well, this gorgeous laser cut. So let's do this with 3D as well, just to kind of give some extra dimension. Like that. And then we've got these stunning and very delicate pieces of foliage. I think maybe we'll put this one on first. And then this one a bit further up, I think. Like that. Then the gorgeous bit of squiggle that we cut down I think that just adds to it a little bit extra kind of detail, maybe more across this way. Yeah, okay, let's add glue on the back of this. Okay, now we do want to tuck our sentiment underneath this panel, and I have left enough room, so that's good. I must have stuck everything over further because before that fitted perfectly on the edge of the card, but it doesn't now, so we could change what this looks like. And if I'd thought of this beforehand, there is probably one of the gorgeous tag dies in one of the die sets that would have worked really nicely to create a banner tag for this, but I think we could just... I think maybe just get away with cutting it shorter, just cutting it part way through here and having a straight end would look nice. Like this. And I'm kind of tucking it in so that we can still see that wiggle that's along the edge there too. I think that looks really nice. Okay, so let's have our sentiment like that, I think. Or maybe a bit further up. We are almost covering all of that rub-on transfer, but I think that's the kind of great thing about layering. You don't have to worry about all of the different layers because it's going to look gorgeous at the end. You may be covering bits and pieces up, but it's all about the layering process to get to that end result. So I think it's worth, you know, only being able to see small portions of things because that just adds to the beautiful effect. So we can now add this little one here. So we've got my thankful heart time and time again. I think I will hang that slightly over the edge of the panel as well. And then finally we have got our gorgeous butterflies. So this one is absolutely stunning. There's so much detail in this one, and I think that one needs to be the kind of focal point because it's so gorgeous. And then we can curl the wings of these other ones. And do I want it more over here? I think I'd put it more down here before. Yeah, I think I like it there. And then this one I was kind of adding up there. And then we also had the gorgeous little heart as well. So we've got our lovely little heart button. Yeah, that's going to look beautiful. Okay, so glue on the back of this. Once the glue is dried on the bodies of these butterflies, you can also prise their wings up again as well, so that they're nice and prominent. Okay, and then our little heart. I think I might add that with 3D foam, our heart button. It has got the holes in it though, so you're going to have to work around the holes to add some 3D foam onto here. But a long strip and a little square work perfectly. There we go. So let's add this onto a card blank. I would usually trim my card blank down, but I quite like this wide border on this, and I'm just thinking if we bring in our ink blending brush for like dark greys and things, we could just add a little bit of ink on the edges. Yeah, I like that. It just helps it stand out from your card blank a little bit. And just doing it in mid-air like this means you're not going to accidentally get too much on there. It's always great to add a little bit first and then decide if you do want to go further with it. And just using what is on your brush as well is nice because you're not going to get a heavy mark if you've just dipped straight into a black ink pad. So just really subtle. Yeah, that works really nicely. Okay, we've got it added onto our card blank, and now we can just decide, do we want a few little enamel dots sprinkled around? Now, even though this is the set that goes with the season of joy, which is Christmas, I think maybe this orange might go quite nicely. I don't know if it's a bit too bright though. Maybe it is a little bit too bright for this, and I don't know if that yellow is then too bright from the Hidden Creek collection as well. Maybe it doesn't need them. I think I'm going to go without them. I think these are too bright. You needed something a little bit more muted, I think. Something that would blend in a little bit more. Maybe some sequins. yeah, I think my go-to iridescent sequins are going to be perfect just to add a little pop of something and those little extra embellishments. I always love adding sequins, enamel dots, gems, all sorts to my cards. It just gives that final sort of finishing detail. I think I'll add 9. I usually go in odd numbers, and because this is a square card it's quite large, so adding 9 in 3 little clusters of the 3 different sizes works quite nicely. So any little iridescent sequins that you have in your stash would be brilliant for just finishing off this card. And I think maybe the third one there on this one. Okay, so there we have our finished card that has been combining the Hidden Creek collection, the Vintage Makers collection and the Page Starters collection. We've gone with the Page Starters papers to start us off. We used some Hidden Creek rub-ons. We have used some dies that came out with the Vintage Makers collection with the Vintage Makers papers. And then we've also used a mixture of the gorgeous laser cuts from the Hidden Creek and the Page Starters collection as well, plus one of the Page Starters rub-ons for our main sentiment, and then one of the laser cuts as our kind of secondary sentiment on there as well. And we just finished off with some sequins from our stash. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how you can sort of pull together a collaged card like this. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!